They said the boy wrote like a river, clear, quick, with a hidden pull. In 1934, Everett Ruess was 20, thin as a bowstring and just as stubborn, the son of a schoolteacher poet and a mother who mailed him dollars with Bible verses taped to the envelope. He left Los Angeles the way a young man leaves a room he has outgrown, politely, then with speed, trading traffic for canyon silence. He traveled under his own name and also as Nemo, Latin for no one, a signature he scratched into sandstone when the day felt too large for a single self. By autumn, he had drifted into the slick rock of southern Utah, Escalante country, domes the color of old bone, blue shadows that stayed cold until noon. He wrote from trading posts with names that sound like rumors: Boulder, Escalante, Cane Gulch. He wrote of coyotes yipping under hard stars, of dawn prying crimson from stone, of his burros, chocolate and cocoa, who carried paints, books, flour, and a skillet that rang against the panniers. He promised caution, trails in foul weather, camps out of the wash, but he also confessed a hunger that doesn't bargain. I have not tired of the wilderness. It is enough. People remembered him because he was hard to forget. Wind-burned cheeks, a courteous grin, an artist who traded block prints for beans, a reader of Thoreau trying to live the sentences into sense. He asked questions without prices attached, which made some folks like him and others nervous. Late November brought storm smell to the Kaiparowits. Everett bought supplies in Escalante, mailed a letter home, and headed into Davis Gulch, a narrow crack wandering toward the Escalante River. His tracks went where they should, down a sandy slope, across glaze ice, into cottonwood shade. A rancher later found his burros grazing without their owner, hobbled but content, their packs gone. The man assumed Everett had shouldered his kit and walked on. Weeks turned to months. The postmasters had nothing to hand the worried parents but silence. In Davis Gulch, searchers found NEMO 1934 cut clean into a wall of Navajo sandstone. They found a seep stained dark, a bedroll cached in a crevice, ashes frilled by wind, orderly sign left by someone who believed neatness was a survival skill. They did not find Everett. A boot print here, a scuff there, a suggestion of a trail angling toward the river, nothing that would hold still for grief. The canyon held its breath and kept what it had been given. After that, the story frayed into theories. One version said he slipped and went under in the green cold of the Escalante. Another said rustlers were camped nearby, and a quarrel over a mule turned ugly, a shallow grave under a cairn that looks like any other. A darker romance said he was killed for pretty things, prints, paints, a knife, and the killers walked out speaking less than they used to. There is a kinder rumor, too, that he changed his name again, hitched east, and grew old past the reach of the boy he had been. His letters did the work that bones did not. They became evidence of intent and of a heart that would not leave well enough alone. I shall always be a lone wanderer of the wilderness, he wrote. I have seen almost more beauty than I can bear. To read him is to watch someone treat solitude as a teacher, sometimes merciful, sometimes not. He sounds older than his years, and very young too, as if he's writing to persuade himself that devotion counts as discipline. Searchers returned because Davis Gulch was the last place that offered them a verb. They carried coils of rope and a coil of hope, tracing the canyon's twists against their own aging. Sometimes a flash flood knocked their certainties about like tin cups. Sometimes a new inscription appeared, another Nemo, the desert's trick of making its few marks sound like a chorus. Families picnicked the rim and told children to stay back. Hikers found bones polished to anonymity. Decades passed. The desert stayed busy, slowly, with nothing to prove. One year the river bit deeper into a bend, another a cottonwood threw more shade. Roads paved half the distance to places Everett had reached on foot. The government drew lines on maps and names on new monuments. The land kept its own. From time to time, the case warmed, a skull near Combe Ridge, a doctor's maybe, newspapers drumroll, then tests that whispered yes and shouted no. The canyon let the flags lie flat. Spend a night out there under the chilled blaze of stars, and you hear why a young man might vanish on purpose or by accident. Coyotes put a question mark on the ridgeline. The sky keeps saying two things: you are small and you are home. Morning adds the rest. Beauty costs, in sweat, attention, and the humility of admitting stone has more patience than you. A misstep at a pour-off, a storm in a slot, a day short on water, that is all it takes. Yet something in his stubbornness still instructs. He insisted that a life organized around wonder is not rehearsal for real life, but the thing itself. Art was a vocabulary, not a career. The prints and sketches were thank you notes to things that did not need thanks. He traveled light because burden breeds blindness, and he paid with pictures and labor, mending fence, scraping a ditch, splitting cedar for a hermit whose eyes had gone weak. It is possible to love the idea more than the person. Legends tidy, lives do not. Everett got sick, needed help from storekeepers he wished to leave unbothered. He misjudged water, weather, and the kindness of strangers in a country where those are the only currencies that never devalue. He wrote lines that sound brave in anthologies and reckless if you are the one who must send money and wait for a letter that does not come. He was not a saint, he was a son. Still, the trail he left, on paper, in stone, in the willingness of strangers to keep looking, says something durable. Walk Davis Gulch today, and the canyon hums with its old business. Bees worrying willow bloom, the faint rattle of wind in tamarisk, a lizard needling its track across sand. You round a corner and the wall lifts in a pale sweep. Under iron varnish, letters say NEMO in a hand both careful and young. The date has worn, as dates do. The name remains. No one. Someone. Deserted Trails keeps a ledger of vanishings that explain the places where they happen. Everett's story explains what maps don't. Canyon country attracts hunger and punishes assumption. It offers sanctuary and a test in the same hour. A person can go into it and find exactly what he sought, and that too can be a kind of death. The letters make a life out of sentences, and the canyon makes a silence out of a life. Between them runs a lesson written in dry washes. Love the land, and it may love you back. Claim it, and it will not bother to answer. His parents kept writing long after the postmaster stopped promising. They reached for closure and got mystery instead, a cheaper thing that endures longer. The desert keeps secrets the way stone keeps sunlight after dusk. Slowly, then all at once. If Everett lies in its keeping, he lies where he meant to live, under cliffs that lean like old books, beside water that says nothing unless asked correctly. If he walked out, if he became someone else and let his old name wither to 4 letters on a wall, then the desert taught him vanishing as craft. Either way, the boy and the place conspired to make a story that still sounds like footsteps on slick rock, near, far, undecidable. The river carries on with its unhurried erasures, and in the morning, another line arrives in a book. I have seen almost more beauty than I can bear. It's signed by a hand we cannot find and addressed, still, to anyone who needs the reminder. Thank you for listening to Deserted Trails. Subscribe for more forgotten stories from the old frontier.